Bella a tutti ragazzi, io sono Trazza95 e oggi siamo qui in questo nuovissimo video horror sarebbe. Ma ragazzi, andiamo per una reazione a storie realmente accadute, cioè successe nelle scuole. Il video, lo ammetto, l'ho visto dal nostro carissimo Doc Vendetta. Doc, se stai vedendo questo video ti saluto, ma non credo proprio, quindi cominciamo.
It was a typical boring day in
Un attimo.
calculus, only it
Ok, un attimo ragazzi. Vabbè, qua mi sa che l'ho visto dal
was
Doc.
Friday, 7th period, meaning
Quel
the week
ragazzo
was almost
praticamente
over
è a
and spring
scuola.
break would finally be upon us, so everybody was getting antsy in their seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test
Ah,
that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of
non
class just
capisco
decided to
niente!
start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right
Questo
after my
ragazzo è
friend
appoggiato a me.
answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came.
Ora vi dico una cosa a Barlet, in barese. Surto de molonte, ci stai cosa un maniacolazione, madonna, mai. Non so se
Through
avete
the
capito. Vabbè,
loudspeaker.
lasciamo stare. Cosa c'è?
He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers this was not
Praticamente racconto che l'accusa ma che Cristoforo Colombo. Vabbè, il presidente, la presidentessa, che vabbè, io sono asino. Gli dà un avvertimento un po' strano che praticamente li fa spaventare sti poveri
a
ragazzi.
drill
Invece
and
di
to go
stare
into
zitta,
lockdown.
invece di
I
studiare.
actually got the chills and I got goosebumps on
Eh,
my arms as our usually laid back
ish.
teacher too seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and
Hanno
ushered
spento
us to
le
the back
luci, hanno
corner of the
detto di
room.
spegnere le luci, stare in silenzio nelle
We
classi,
all
quindi
sat in silence
ascoltano.
for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school
Ho
must have cut all
paura.
the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must be serious.
Non dire parolacce.
A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. Two girls in the class actually started
Si sentono
crying, which made
degli
all of us
urli
even more scared.
di un pazzo
As the screaming
scatenato che
got
adesso
closer to the classroom,
entra
the
nella
lunatic
classe e ti
sounding man
spara
started
tutti
banging on the
quanti.
lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you." It was at that moment that I
Io
started
non
to
credo
fear for my
che...
life.
Cioè, questo può essere,
My
cioè...
teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door, and that's when one of the crying girls
Quello che faccio sempre io quando mia madre non mi risponde. Ecco, sulla
screamed
porta.
no.
Mamma!
The banging on the door only grew
Ah,
worse as the man started.
ragazzi, ditemi se la faccia non è uguale a quella di Jakey, Yeki, non me lo ricordo del film, la bambola, non quella assassina, Jakey, non mi ricordo come si chiama.
Screaming, "Open up."
Cioè, è uguale.
Two of the girls in the class were crying out loud now.
Sono sti occhi che
It
hanno
felt
però
like an
questi. Come non
eternity
li
that
potevi
that man was
disegnare?
pounding at the door. But eventually, he
Oh mio
finally
Dio.
continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man
Ah
was
sì,
armed or
lui
not.
era sicuro che
Now,
non
this
aveva
was before the
un'arma.
school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift
Ah,
found
le
the man
bidelle
mentre in one
mentre
of the storage closets
pulivano la
near the
scuola
back
di
end of the
notte
school,
trovarono un
and according
uovo
to rumors that were
sdraiato
spread
per
by my
terra
peers,
che dormiva.
sticking out of his pocket was a
Aprirono e ne
44
trovarono
Magnum.
una pistola.
The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene,
Poi andò
the man was
all'FBI
gone.
e non lo trovò più.
My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found, but I like
Ah, Ah, il video finisce così. Mettiamo un altro. Che dura 6 minuti.
Road, there were a few houses on either side, and then it would just go back to being a long, empty highway again.
Questo l'ho messo così a caso.
The house was tiny, like a lot of houses around the area, but the party was held outside anyways.
Sì, qua non è mio.
I thanked him and joyously hopped into the truck. I was exhausted, and I remember completely disregarding things the guy was asking me because I was so close to just passing out. And that's what happened.
Bravo,
The
dormi,
memories of
dormi.
being in that truck turned to a fog, as I'm sure I passed out. The next thing I remember, I woke up still in the moving truck. The guy looked at me and laughed, but didn't say anything.
Sono preso con un
I
pazzo
looked around
in macchina,
and
raga.
realized the road we were on wasn't familiar. I nervously asked,
E ora paura.
where are we going? He then said, so what were you doing out this late anyway? And he started to kind of lean away and slow down the car. Thankfully, I drank as much as I did because I finally threw up and made a point of doing it all over the man's lap. The man yelled in frustration and stopped the car, and that's when I took it upon myself to run for my life into the woods and duck behind a few bushes. The man came following into the woods with a flashlight, and on 2 separate occasions, he shined the light straight over me without noticing. Eventually, I heard his footsteps walk even further into the woods past me. Anything, but to my all I knew was that
Va bene, ragazzi, praticamente mi sa questo. Si è trovato uno straniero sulla macchina. Forse anche serial killer, però. Questa non l'ho capita tanto. Noi ci becchiamo alla prossima, ragazzi. Se il video vi è piaciuto lasciate like e condividete il video. Arriviamo a 200 iscritti, ragazzi. E noi ci becchiamo alla prossima. Ciao.